So it's just kind of crazy. Like, but just really, it's not even day by day. It's more like feels like more kind of like hour by hour.
All right, guys. So I figured we would just open this up. Obviously, the president declared a national emergency March 13th concerning the coronavirus. Schools are canceled. Businesses are shutting their doors. Stock prices plummeting. Lots of crazy stuff going on with this pandemic. So I just figured we'd open up and have a session where we could get together, rack our heads, lean in, and start to ask some of the right questions to figure out where we're going as investors, as small business owners, but also how we can get involved in the community and really just try to not necessarily interact with people, but be that support system to help people stay in a positive mind state. It's a global situation, man, that I don't think we've ever really run into, and it's a pretty touchy subject. So I just wanted to open it up, guys, open up the discussion and reach out to those in the network, have a meeting of the minds, if you will, and kind of prepare for what's to come. So Russ, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good, brother. How about yourself?
Good. I'm just out here making sure my contractors are working.
Yeah, heard that. Are you up
drive to Columbia? Make sure mine are.
I can do that.
Love it, man. So yeah, I just got some of the bros together. Most of us are all local. Mike's up in North Carolina. Just really talking shop, man. Come together and figure out everyone's position on this whole ordeal. I want to open up conversations about cash flow for those that might be leveraged. I was hoping we get Andrew Lucas on the call. I think he'd have an interesting insight as well. But yeah, just kind of get everyone's thoughts on everything going on. Initially, I was thinking like this is a publicity stunt, might be the liberals just trying to pivot some things as we're approaching election season, which I still kind of think that it's gotten blown up a little bit out of proportion. But at the same time, some of the moves that have been made, from the powers that be have got me questioning if maybe it is something much larger than I initially realized. I mean, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, you look at it on a global scale, and I think you realize that it is real on that sense. I mean, I think the politics, I think the media uses it as an opportunity to, push that propaganda and that agenda, put it on Trump, whatever, however you think it might go. But, and then there's the conspiracy surrounding the fact that this might be, there's this whole conspiracy surrounding whether or not this is a way to get America back on top in the global economy and overtake China, kind of push them out. I don't really know what to believe with all that, but at this point, I think we should take it seriously. I mean, it's definitely making a major impact, on the market and the economy right now. So
no doubt
how we adjust to that.
It's hard to say what's going on. I just got off a call with a buddy whose wife is deployed right now to Qatar, and they've just moved in a squadron of F-22s and 6 C-5 Galaxies loaded down. So there's some shit going on in the Middle East that is not being reported on. So something's going to happen with that, I think, potentially. So it's just kind of crazy. Like, but just really, it's not even day by day. It's more like feels like more kind of like hour by hour, I feel like.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to say is that, man, we've never had such an interesting group of circumstances all come together at the same time. And, people's motivations in this business with sellers, normally changes daily and weekly. And now we know we're living in a world where things are changing hourly. So, I mean, follow up with people who you weren't motivated, a week ago or a month ago. All that may have changed by now. So I think follow up has always been important. 80% of our deals has always come from follow up. Yep. It's never been more important than it is now going forward. So people's pain and motivation is changing hourly, and we're in the solutions business. So it's good to be a resource for people.
Absolutely. How has this affected your businesses already? You guys seeing a change in position? Is there any concerns about, cash flow or being over leveraged in certain areas? I mean, what are your takes on that end?
I'll just jump back in real quick. We had a really big week this week. I sold like 5 properties. I think people are I think people are positioning, like trying to get their affairs in order or something, and just closing everything. I mean, I deal with a lot of lower income stuff and mobile homes and everything else. So I sold 5 properties last week. I think half of it was just my mindset of deciding to do so, and half of it was people just trying to get everything in order. So I've been trying to liquidate as much as possible, get ready for some opportunities in the future.
Yep. I know you're ready. If anyone's ready, you're
Yeah, bro.
leaning
I've already
in
got
right
that.
now.
I've already got that T-shirt, bro. I was here since 2002, so
Yeah,
still in it. So I'm ready.
absolutely, man.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I've seen really an uptick in business. We closed a sale last week. We're closing one today. We're buying one today. And as Dusty said, there's motivation where there wasn't motivation before. And
Sure.
pretty exciting.
So when you say you're buying one, are you buying another flip? What's your exit strategy on that?
It will, it's a duplex that we're going to clean up the tenants and, you know, hold it for a little while, and then I flip everything. I'm not going to keep it forever. We're going to turn it into cash.
Sure. Nice value add situation. What plans do you guys have in place? I know it's still pretty early to tell exactly what's going to go on, but what plans do you have in place to hedge any further market dip, whether it be the stock market, real estate? I mean, what are you looking at moving forward?
Well, I think you just got to make sure that you've got, I mean, for all of us that use passive money, make sure that you're talking to your passive people. I think that more people are more apt now with the huge dip in the stock market that want to put money in passively. I think if you can position yourself and raise more money and make sure you still got the money you've got, you keep buying. Because at the end of the day, people, whether the market's good or bad, when you're flipping a house, you got to remember that you're competing against all the other people that don't have the money, that are trying to sell properties that may or may not have it updated accordingly. So if you come in there and you can be leveraged and have a good property that is eye appealing and is done right, and you're still in it good, I mean, it doesn't make sense to, like, people are talking about stopping and, you know, all this shit. That doesn't make sense to me. People are going to buy regardless, whether it was 2008 or 2009. I mean, Jay Kim with Exit, he freaking crushed it back then. And that was just on the retail side. So people will still buy houses, and banks are going to do what they can do to finance. So,
hey, speaking of Jay, he's been like really gung-ho minute by minute about posting the updates with the viruses, like stay inside, people, keep it serious. Like he seems to have some major concern about the actual virus itself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's definitely more serious than I think people realize, because even young and healthy individuals are getting really, really sick from it. I mean, it's not just to say that it's only older people that are, you know, kind of at risk with it. And they're saying that as far as a cure and all that, you know, they have very promising treatments that have to be FDA cleared, and they wouldn't really be widely available for closer to a year from now. So I think it's going to come down to being able to contain it as best as we can just through quarantine. I mean, that's going to be the best option. So it's really just going to come down to how it all pans out here in the next few weeks. And if it's, you know, we start to see that containment become effective on all of that. And me and you were talking about yesterday, Ben, it's really, I mean, there's always going to be investors. There's always going to be people that are basically investing in the future, assuming that the world's not going to end. You know, this is going to pass. And I think we'll definitely see the motivation shoot up from the fear and the panic, and people that are already in distress situations are going to feel like they're in more of distress situations, you know, as this continues. So I think this is the time to definitely find the deals. And it's really just about leveraging your buyer's network and knowing what people are buying and wanting to buy, and, you know, who's still out there.
So I guess in situations like this, you know, you got two mindsets. You have the catastrophe mindset and the opportunity mindset, you know, and I think it's all about your perspective and your inner beliefs. You know, I'm a huge believer that our lives are shaped upon what we believe, right? Because what we believe, what we think about expands. And when most people are running for the hills, You know, that's where we're leaning in and figuring out, okay, let's ask better questions, and as a result, figure out a better game plan to actually try to benefit. You know, it's not coming from a place of greed, but really trying to come from a place of abundance. And let's get a good game plan in place. Let's get together like this, you know, with a group of investors that we know and trust, and we can come together and rack our heads and get a good game plan moving forward. That was kind of the whole purpose with this call, you know.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Ben, if I may, as kind of the new guy amongst this group, I'd love to talk about some marketing. I mean, I'd be curious to see, because I've heard, you know, like Chad kind of alluded to, some people just completely stopping, people that are doubling down right now. You know, on my side, I got a local employee cold caller, text message guy, and we're adding on an extra hour a day. I mean, nothing really crazy, but my kind of biggest fear from this is that, you know, we get things under contract and then court systems aren't able to close, or, you know, title insurance companies aren't able to write. So I don't know.
That's an easy fix, though.
Yeah,
That's an easy fix. Just
I'm
extend your,
putting
just
it.
extend your days from. I generally set all my closings. You know, whether I'm competing against somebody or not, if somebody tells the seller that they can close in 7 days, I still tell my folks 30 days, but I'm at the liberty of the closing attorneys, the title work. I can generally close a lot faster than that, but I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Exactly.
So now just take that 30 days. I'm taking 30 days and I'm going to probably 45 or 60.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just put a contract
down.
out.
Tissue, you son of a bitch.
I just put a contract on one the other 2 days ago for 60-day closing because of everything going on. There was no resistance at all. They understood.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I guess all I was going to do was put a actual addendum related to this crisis in the contracts that, for if any reason COVID-19 pandemic affects the closing of this deal, we get an automatic extension. Definitely, and kind of setting those expectations with the sellers. But my thing is, I think for most of us, like, when this really gets down the line and people really get impacted, I think that's when I'm really going to double down. I just kind of want to let it pass through. Russ holding his TP.
Toilet paper if anybody's interested.
Bring it.
I've got 4 cases of baby wipes if anybody needs them.
I'll be needing those in a month.
Yeah. What are you guys doing for marketing? Are y'all, I mean, same business as usual? Or are you doubling down? What are you doing?
Yeah, Andrew, to answer your question, as far as the players I've talked to, everybody's going in, doubling down, going a little deeper. This is going to weed out a lot of the tourists in the business, I think, and a lot of the professional marketers and people who are serious about the business are gonna 10x their business over the next 6 months to 12 months. So I think everybody I've talked to is doubling down, including me. I've told the cold callers we're going to go harder. We got a captive audience sitting at home. This is like a perfect storm. They're literally sitting at home waiting on you to call them. So let's get about the business of solving some problems.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard, Open Door, Redfin, and Zillow has halted their iBuyer programs. So mixing with what you were just saying, I mean, this is the time to capitalize on that in the marketing and really try to get out there and find those deals. Yeah.
And with that being said, on the iBuyers, you got to remember that there's a lot of wholesalers that had contracts or agreements already handled with those buyers, and they're not buying.
Yeah.
So those wholesalers are not going to be able to get those deals closed. And you know as well as I do, 90% of wholesalers, they don't even have the network to close their own deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, we might be sitting good on that front.
That's a good point. Now, Dusty, quick question for you, man, because I know you've weathered a couple of these 2008, and Russ, you probably have some good insight too. What does that forecast look like as far as, you know, buyers in the market? Obviously, it's kind of like a vacuum, sucks up a lot of the cash. A lot of people run for the hills. There might be a couple funds, if they're not over leveraged, that are still buying. I'm sure the serious cash, again, when there's blood in the streets, smart investors come out to play. But what's your experience with that, Dusty?
My experience is, like Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. It's a time where people are running for the hills. You know, I don't wish ill upon anybody, you know, with all the, you know, sellers going through a lot and competition, trying to stay in business and all that. But I think there's going to be a huge opportunity you have to recognize is coming down the pipeline. And if you have great deals, there will always be buyers. Buyers never went away in 2008, 2009. It was just a whole different kind of buyers.
Right.
And the sellers back then were a lot of banks and people trying to, get out of, tough paper and tough situations. And now I think it's going to be individuals who are selling off and trying to get out of a lot of these situations. So I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for us.
So it's not yet a financial crisis. It's more just like a global pandemic. But I mean, I feel like we have nowhere else to go. Like it's going to lead to a massive financial crisis once again, right? This 2008, 2009 was like, they say once, maybe twice in a lifetime type of recession, right? You only really see it downturn that long and that heavy a couple times in your life. No one saw this coming. No one, I don't know, man. It's definitely different than before, right? I was too young to really understand in 2008 and 2009. But what are your thoughts and feelings? Do you feel like it could get a lot heavier?
Russ, what you think, man? I had to pay $500 to eat lunch with you last time we met in Charleston and drove down there. So come on, man. What you got?
I am definitely doubling or tripling my marketing. Because I feel like it's a huge opportunity. There are going to be challenges, and I don't know what they're going to be, but I know that I'm reaching out. I like what Chad said. I'm reaching out to my lenders. I'm reaching out to my best buyers on my wholesale side. I'm talking to the smart brokers that I know, especially people who have been through things like this, and we're going to adapt to it. It's adapt or die, and I don't intend to die. So we're just going to have to adapt to it. But definitely this morning on the phone with my cold caller, lining up some new direct mail, pulling some lists that I haven't pulled in a while because I just got fat and lazy. This is the time to work on the fat and lazy part for me. So
true that. I don't know.
I think it's like Dusty said, I don't wish ill on anybody, and yes, it's can be stressful, but at the end of the day, I think this is phenomenal for folks like us that are doing deals to get rid of all this riffraff. And if it stays like this for 2 or 3 months, it's going to be gangbusters, because all those folks that were maybe flipping burgers or whatever and thought this was an easy business, and they're coming in here and are not being professionals, they're gone. So now that's going to be gangbusters. I'm not changing anything on what I'm doing. I'm still got my VA texting. I have not changed my ad spend, not one bit. I actually upped it on AdWords. So I'm not changing anything.
Are you still planning to take down a lot of flips, or are you going to pivot a little bit more to wholesales?
I think, I don't know. We've talked about this. I'm personally not. I'm just, for the Columbia market, for the market that I'm in. I'm not going to say I'm anti-wholesale, but I think it's really stupid to wholesale in that market, particularly focused on that. Not saying that I've wholesaled deals, and I will continue to wholesale deals, but wholesale to me has just been a sexy word for people to sell bullshit coaching on. Is my thought on it, because it really doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I've got a deal right now. I've actually, I can tell you real quick. I've got a deal on Riverwalk up in Irma, and I got it subject to no money.
What's her name? Anastasia Ald.
Yeah, so I got the deal on out of pocket, or nothing out of pocket other than closing costs. I've made a mortgage payment on it, but I put it out for wholesale, and I've had a bunch of offers, but I'm just not going to take them. I'm getting ready to flip the house. I just told my contractor, let's go ahead and flip it. I'll put the 15 grand in it, 20 grand in it, and in order to make another 20 grand. So that doesn't make sense to me. Wholesale that house and make 7, 8, maybe 10, or flip it and make 30 plus. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts on that, but it just doesn't make sense to me at this point. I'd rather buy it and flip it. I've got the realtor, and I'd rather put my money in that basket. Now, I don't want to take anything on that's going to be crazy.
Right.
But if lipstick on a pig. It makes no sense to wholesale it to me. None whatsoever. I
Agreed.
don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's my thought.
Got the means, do it.
What's everybody doing, like, as far as your operation? Is everybody local, or is anybody doing any virtual things? Anything like that?
I'm virtual from Denver to Columbia. So
Yeah, Chad manages his whole rehab department from Colorado. Most of us are local. Dusty's down Charleston. Russ is kind of between Charleston, Columbia. I guess they're both kind of back and forth, but a lot of us are pretty much this side of the Northeast, or excuse me, Southeast. Yep. Andrew, what's up, man?
What's up, boss?
How you doing?
I'm good. I've got a whole bunch of kids here, and it's just me in charge.
I know the feeling, dude. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Gosh, they must love us parents, man.
Yeah, you would think they do.
what do you think, Andrew? What's your thoughts, buddy?
I love you, Chad, because I'm coaching on wholesaling in about half an hour. So listen, here's my deal. I'm trying to train some wholesalers, train people to go out there and do it so that they'll bring them to us. I think there's an opportunity because people they're at home, they're bored. They're like, wholesaling is a sexy word because it can bring some quick cash, and it's not that hard to do. So that's why so many people teach it. And if I can train a couple people to go out there and bring some to us, I'm all about it because there's just free time right now. There's a lot of free time. So I'm excited about that. And then, last 2008 was totally different. It was brought on by, real estate stuff. This isn't brought on by real estate. I don't feel like it's going to crash real estate. I think so many people learned some good lessons in 2008 that hopefully they have carried over with the banking, and hopefully people are prepared for dips and downturns, but there's still a supply shortage in housing, and that's what's been causing the prices to go up. So I think we're going to keep going. I mean, like you said, marketing's still the same. We're going to still keep doing flips, just maybe more conservative on our ARV. Everything that we were building and flipping, we would assume that we were going to get more than the comps. We'd add a few points onto it.
Right.
I've got a child that just came in with no underwear on. That's what happens when dad's in charge.
That's too much.
He'll put some clothes on. So we're going on, and Dusty, I love you for being on the boat doing this call. I feel like we're truly real estate investors here.
Did you expect anything less?
Right?
Hey, that's the seasoned investor for you right there.
Quarantined out here at the lake.
That's right.
Don't turn off your market.
Yep, straight up.
Don't turn it off.
They're coming in.
Keep it going. Just keep it going. I agree with Andrew on that. I agree with Andrew. He's not a bullshit coach. I would have loved to learn something from him. But on the other part is the new housing inventory, dude, it's low. It's super low.
Yeah.
For
That's a question, Chad, I'm going to interrupt you. That's a question I have because I am in the process of closing on lots to build 5 houses.
Yeah.
In Southeast Columbia, Northeast, and I'm right in the thick of it when this shutdown hit. But I feel like we need the inventory. I'm planning to build 5 houses this summer. Am I crazy?
Little bit,
No.
But that's where things happen. Things happen at the edge of your comfort zone, man.
Dude, I do not think you're crazy because I still have a project that's sitting that we haven't touched in. I couldn't even tell you how long. I've mentally blocked it out. But one reason why we didn't stop or start working on it, Russ, is because the lots next to it got sold out, and a developer came in, just like what you're doing. They built seven or 8 houses, and they are almost done with like the last 2. And it raised my comps like freaking crazy in there.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting on it and have been waiting for them to kind of get done. and then I'm going to go in there and finish it out. But I don't think you're crazy at all, dude. Not at all. Not especially under the price point you're going to be in the Northeast. I'm sure you're going to be over 150.
It's first time home buyer, brand new house in a first time home buyer price range. I just feel like the inventory is so low, and some of the shit boxes I've been able to sell to first time home buyers, I'd love to give them a new product. So I'm continuing with that plan. You know, I've had a few moments when I've thought about, you know, I have the opportunity to stop it now, but I don't know that I'm going to. I think I'm going to push forward with it.
I wouldn't stop, man. I wouldn't stop one second, because I think even if it does get bad,
I mean, worst case scenario,
FHA, all the government's going to kick in the money for the people. So you're still going to be able to sell.
Hey guys, speaking of
just
inventory,
think about what long-term financing you can put on it.
yeah. Speaking of inventory, do you guys predict a pretty major influx from it being the seller's market that it is, with no inventory, to, you know, more people that are distressed and really need to list and sell their houses, whether it be cash or retail or whatever, when all this kind of comes to the end? I mean, do you guys see it shifting from this major seller's market to more of kind of a middle stage kind of, you know, where there is more inventory, or what are we thinking?
I'm looking at, I think we'll see some more landlords saying, I'm done, you know, throwing in the flag, the white flag, giving up, which means more discount rental properties. And, you know, they might be homeowner occupied, available type properties, but I could see that, especially when we're not allowed to evict, you know, these next 2 months. You won't be able to evict anybody. So if there's a landlord that was on the edge already, now we can't get rid of the bad tenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be blowing up our phones to get somebody to buy that house.
That's a question I had for you, Andrew, because I know that you have, you know, good rentals, you know, and some financing built off of that. What hedges have you put within your own business? Have you started to like send out letters to your tenants saying, look, we understand the situation. Please communicate with us, you know, your situation, what's needed so we can further this. You know, obviously, if you're not evicted in this time, there still will be the back owed rent payments. I feel like communicating that stuff upfront is important. What does that look like for you? And do you have any worry with multiple rentals in that case?
Yeah. So we actually talked about this a little bit at the beginning of REI Live the other night, that right now everybody's home. Now Michelle can take the kids if you guys hear them screaming. So we are going to be proactive. So I just talked to a property manager yesterday that said, go by, and anybody that we think is going to be delinquent or we know works in the retail business or restaurant industry or something like that, go ahead and reach out and start setting up weekly payments, or, you know, give them half month's rent, but then we'll tack it on, you know, to last bit of rent, or, you know, next year's tax return time, something. You're not going to forget about it, but we're going to have to
That's good. Just having a plan in place, whatever sector you're in, you know, I think that it's important that you start to figure out where you're going with it.
Yeah. So sorry about that. It's getting noisy. So yeah, we're trying to be proactive and get people to know that we want to work. We want to keep our good tenants. You know, that's the biggest thing, is keep the good ones. And you can't get rid of the bad ones. So you can't really piss them off, you know? So we want to try to work with them, work on weekly payments or whatever we got to do to make sure we're getting something in. It would be, yeah, this is pretty bad. This is pretty catastrophic, but, you know, our debt to income ratio is pretty good. We should, I mean, even if half of the people don't pay us, we're going to pay our bills. So
right.
Hopefully we're still good. I'm knocking on wood for that one, but hopefully we'll still be good.
Absolutely.
Dusty, you started to say something about long-term financing.
I was thinking about your position and what I would be thinking about these houses you're about to build, and just what is the worst case scenario? What is my exit strategy?
You're losing signal a little bit,
Where
Dusty.
can I go with this financing if I need to? And obviously, you're going to have a great. crap. I was going to say, you're going to have a great product that you could hold and rent out if you needed to, if it didn't sell for some reason. But sounds like you're super low inventory anyway. But I would just think about what is the worst case scenario with my exit strategy on these spec homes, and what would I do if I needed to hold. But get that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's good.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And you
And,
guys playing the? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I've kind of been preparing for this for a while, as far as being more involved in low income assets, because I mean, eventually it's going to turn, and I don't want to be totally leveraged out there with a ton of flips and a ton of stuff going on, and own a bunch of trailer parks and mobile homes and stuff like that. So, I feel pretty good about that. But I'm not gonna see a huge shift in that end of the business. Hopefully people aren't gonna walk away from their home over a couple $100 a month. So I feel pretty good about that. But yeah, if I was thinking about building houses or doing huge renovations right now, I might look twice.
That's good.
Yeah,
Any of you
that
guys
makes
play?
sense.
Any of you guys play in the stock market? Some Black Friday price stocks that you're looking at? Everyone's like, real estate's the game. Why are you talking crazy?
Couple airlines, Apple super low, just long
Carnival Cruise, dude.
holding it. Yeah, who knows if I don't know if cruise ships will get bailed out, man. We'll see,
Dude. But Carnival's got like almost zero debt on the books. They're such a capital rich company that I think they'll weather it. My bets are Carnival, Delta, because Delta's like in the best position as far as airlines, and then Boeing. Dude, Boeing's a freaking beast right now, and they will get bailed out. Straight up. Sweet. Well, that's good stuff. Anyone else have anything they want to add before we jump off?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the marketing systems everybody's using. And, when you talk about doubling down, like what is it that you're doing? And are you going to be scaling that, into other channels? Are you adding anything? I mean, what does that look like for everybody?
Mike, I can tell you this from the cold calling side. We've seen a double in our contacts. Everybody's answering the phone. Everybody's near their phone right now. I mean, so texting, anything phone related. I've heard from, I don't really have a online marketing at all. I just do that. And then some referrals, but I've heard on the online side that, and Chad, you could probably come in and help with this, that it's just going up and up and up as far as lead flow. I mean, on the cold calling side, it's everybody's answering. We're getting more leads than I've ever seen. So.
Is everybody sort of focusing on just one or two channels? I mean, does anybody here have like a drip campaign system, with multiple channels, or is everybody kind of just focusing on like the one thing?
I do. My whole business has been pretty much built around pay-per-click. So I have an extensive drip campaigns going, but I think one thing people, again, with the sexy words, the texting, the cold calling, the wholesaling, all these sexy words. Just like Dusty said, 80% of deals that I get are completely follow-up, and I'm not sitting here physically having to text, cold call, or call. I have drip campaigns that are 100% email, and it's completely hands-off. It's to the point where it's creative, like it looks like it came from my iPhone. But at the same token, I'm not having to leverage my time to do that. And I only answer and reply when something hits my inbox on a direct reply from somebody else. So email is not dead. I close a lot of deals off the email. Nobody talks about email. It's mind-boggling.
Is anybody worried about the compliance side of things? Because look, it's interesting with that moving into this quarantine situation. It seems like they're talking about tightening up the regulations, and so that people aren't being preyed upon while they're at home. We've been talking with an SMS compliance attorney who works with the TCPA and all that recently, and he's saying you know, it's there when it comes to compliance, it's very specific that you have to have that express written consent from the prospect. But at the same time, with everything going on, there's not going to be a lot of resources. You know, they're just not going to have the resources to go after people and really make a big deal out of that. So I'm more interested in what everybody's doing with that, and you know what your thoughts are on that moving forward.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So Mike is a data guy. You know, they have a list service and they have a skip tracing service as well. So he's really tuned into all that stuff, the compliance stuff. And I think we're seeing a pivot. Obviously, in light of text messaging, there's been a lot more focus on that in recent months. And I think that's going to start to slowly change as well. Very valid point, you know, but I think if you do it right, it's pretty hard to enforce. You know, you just make sure that you are, you have standard processes and procedures in place, you know, that it is protected. You can run your phone numbers through the DNR, right? Or the DNC, do not call list. Do not resuscitate. Yeah, man. So,
well, you know, there's always ways to really be anonymous, but if you're using like CallRail and like Text Magic, you know, some of these bigger services, they're working more. They're kind of becoming known to be working more with the TCPA on going after people if they get that subpoena or whatever it is. So you have to look out for that. I mean, there's ways you could really find burner numbers, you know, truly anonymous. And I mean, we could talk about that in a whole different conversation, but I guess, you know, what you said, you know, as long as you're kind of doing the litigator scrub, DNC, that kind of stuff, you're probably going to weed out a lot of the people that will actually give you trouble. And then it's a whole other side of the coin. They might threaten you, but are they actually going to go through the effort of doing it? And I think a lot of people just, you know, you're looking at anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per text message. And the ROI people are getting from this service, I mean, ultimately it's probably outweighing any things that might happen, you know, as far as fines go and that kind of thing. So, I mean, yeah, we're kind of on the fence. I was talking to you, Ben, about a service that we're working on, like our product. We might be we're thinking about rolling out an SMS, but you know, it's this wave, and I don't know if it's going to last, if they're going to tighten up those regulations. But right now, with everything going on, I don't think they're going to be focusing on that too much.
I mean, I think eventually, I was having a conversation about this morning. Eventually, they're going to tighten up on a lot of different. They're going to tighten up on wholesaling eventually. It's already happening, right? Started with Illinois. Now you're seeing some stuff in Oklahoma. Like, it's all coming. There's no doubt about it. But I think that the common theme is get it while the getting's good, you know, and of course weigh your risk against opportunity options and figure out what makes sense. I think that's going to be different as far as risk tolerance for every single person.
Well, the digital ads are always going to be safe. The direct mail is always going to be safe. Anything that doesn't seem as predatory. I think, you know, where it comes into the compliance issue is where you're going after them and there's no written consent, you know, prior and all that kind of stuff. That might get more and more regulated as things go. But I think it's risk versus reward, you know what I mean? And we were talking, I think, a little bit yesterday about setting up a marketing sequence, you know, and reaching that. Everybody says it sounds like most people are doing one or two channels. What we like to do is set up sort of a system in sequence where we're kind of utilizing all of those channels, because I think different prospects, everybody's different. People are going to respond differently to different channels. Some people might respond more to a specific type of mailer, and some people might respond more to a text message. Some people might pick up the phone. Some people might respond to a voicemail drop. I mean, it's just, I think if you're not hitting them from all angles, you're not squeezing the juice out of it as much as you can. And so what we've kind of created, you know, in our business is just more of a system. You know, we'll start with the cheapest form of marketing, which is ringless voicemail. We'll send out a blast, let it marinate for a week. You know, we'll send out a follow-up later in the week, you know, voicemail. And then we'll take all the ones we didn't get a response from. We'll then move into our second cheapest, which is SMS. And we'll do the same thing. And then we'll go from there. We'll take all the people that didn't respond to that after about a week or so, and we'll put that through our cold call campaign, pass through it a few times, maybe 5 times. And we like to play around with different times of the day with our cold callers. So we'll be calling at different times, on each pass. And from there, we'll send some mailers to whoever's left over. So that's been something that's really upped our response rate and, gotten us more deals just from doing that. And it's also helped us to more efficiently use our marketing budget. So we're not just sending out a bunch of mail, for example, getting a lot of return mail and a lot of dead mail that way. So that's been something really interesting. Another thing I wanted to ask is what's everybody going to be focusing on? Are you going to be going after different prospects, different lead types, or are you going to be, with everything that's going on? I think Ben talked about this earlier. It's like, what are you going to be looking to do more flips, that kind of thing? Are you, I think it was Andrew was talking about landlords. He thinks that landlords are going to be wanting to sell more. So are you going to be going after more absentee owners, that kind of thing?
Obviously everyone's going to be hitting pre-foreclosure. Well, I say pre-foreclosures down the line, 3 months when notes are, becoming, I don't want to say due, but people are having to catch up on that. There's going to be a lot of people that are out of work, man. A lot of small businesses will be forced to close their doors. No questions about that, So you got a lot of people on every single income chain that are going to be needing some type of help, So I think obviously all of us will probably be hitting pre-foreclosures in a few months, but absentee owners would be huge.
Just from my own thing, Mike, my goal is, long-term passive income if I can. And I think a couple months from now, when it gets pretty bad, I'm going to try and target some free and clear, distress landlords if I can as well, and try to buy on owner finance and keep as much cash in my pocket as I can. I just think the amount of distress that might come from this might allow us to get deals on better terms and keep more money in our pocket. So that's just something that I'm going to try to do. But yeah, man, I think like Ben said, pre-foreclosure, any type of absentee, I don't think you can really go wrong on those during this time.
And then going back to your system real quick, Mike, I understand nurturing all the different sources, and that's great. People have the abilities to coordinate and put processes in place where you have all these different touch points. And believe me, I've been trying to be a systems genie where I dive in and try to get all these different things. And I've made a full circle to realize that wholesaling is easy, but wholesalers, we make it extremely difficult, And again, we've tried it all. We had 5 cold callers around the clock and hitting text blast, cold calls, RVMs. But I have found that when I focus on 1 or 2 channels and I do them great, and inside of our own business, that's where I'm reaping the best returns. There's no doubt.
I think the goal is you do want to do that. You want to become the best at every channel that you're running. But I think ultimately, finding a system, that's where we work to do. It's like, like I said, with the cold calling, we're not just doing a cold call campaign and kind of just like spray and pray, where we have a very systematized process to how we do that. It's kind of the same with the SMS and the RVM. We're not just sending out random voicemails. We have a particular voicemail we send out, and then we'll do the follow-up at a specific time. We've been focusing on that. It definitely took us some time of refinement to figure out what was working best and, how to do it right, but I think that has been helping us out. Of course, if you're a smaller operation, you want to make sure that you're able to nurture it, like you were saying. So if you are running that smaller operation, you really probably do want to focus on 1 or 2 and do that really well. But to clarify, we sell vacant property leads as one of our service. So we've been seeing a huge uptick with our vacants through this time. We didn't know what to think and what to expect, but we've been getting a lot of people that are targeting the absentee vacants and things like that, and seeing a lot of success. So I definitely, we've already seen, the motivated sellers seem to be coming out, and, people seem to be doing really well with the leads we've been given. So I think we're going to, focus really hard on that. Another thing we like to do is stack motivation. So we pull pretty much every list we can. We run them through a funnel and we stack them up. So we're looking for 2 or 3 plus motivations, and we start there. And that's how we put them through our marketing system. So yeah, that's been working really well. And I think it's going to keep working.
That's good from a data in for sure. list stacking, man, I think is when you have tons and tons of data, that's smart. That helps really identify those pain properties.
Yeah, and we're working with the deal with CoreLogic right now. I have another call with them today. CoreLogic is the company that owns ListSource, and we're trying to get it to 1 cent per lead. So if we can work that out, I'll be happy to share that with everybody. That's a great way to pull all the data, as much data as you can, and then stack it, and start putting those together.
So South Carolina is one of the states that they took off the list source. I think South Carolina, Wisconsin, and there's one more. So we're one of them that has completely been wiped out.
That is true.
I don't know if in your relationship or conversations you could get that, but I think there's some regulations they put in place.
I'll talk to them. I mean, I don't think I will, but if you guys are looking for leads, I mean, the vacants that we pull from our system, we can still get vacants. And Ben, I know you're looking for some, so we're going to be sending those over today. But yeah, that is the thing. Thanks for reminding me with South Carolina. I forgot a lot of you guys are down there.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, so Mike, as we're kind of ending, I think you mentioned it before the call. You're talking about the president possibly verse us a little bit in what's actually happening with the virus and possibly quarantining and shutting down states or cities. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have a friend who's the fire chief for the fire department out in Alpine, California. He's cautioned us and told us that all the fire departments are being advised that the president will be passing the Stafford Act, which is basically going to be a 2-week national lockdown, quarantine, try to contain the virus and keep things, kind of under control. And really, it's right now they're just trying to rally the National Guard together, make sure they have enough support in keeping everybody off the streets and enforcing that, and preventing riots and looting and all that kind of nonsense. So hopefully it doesn't become like a big catastrophe, but that is something to prepare for and expect. So just know that over the next 2 weeks and probably in the next couple of days, he's expected to make that announcement. So
sounds like martial law, man. That's
yeah,
scary stuff right there.
Well, and you look at the other countries, it's already happened in Italy, parts of Spain, I believe. And China was first. So the good news is that China is already starting to get back to normal life. I think they've contained it quite significantly from what it was. Medication and treatments are looking promising. They're working on, they're saying that they believe the anti-malaria treatments and medication are effective with the coronavirus. So that's sort of what they're doing clinical trials on now. And I think what it is looking the most promising moving forward. So, but what I was saying earlier is I think containment, with the whole treatment protocol, that's probably not going to be widely available and able to be mass produced on that scale for closer to a year, they're saying. So really national lockdown and containment is going to be what's going to get those numbers down the fastest and be the most effective right now.
Chad, I know you have some military and law enforcement background. What are your insights on that?
This is being recorded. You probably really don't want my insights.
I heard that.
I think all this quarantine and all that stuff, this 2 weeks, it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. But
Agreed.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying that the coronavirus is not, that we don't need to be careful, but at the same token, there's been some other things out there that this has not happened for. So I'll just leave it at that.
Heard that. Yeah. Again, I mean, wash your hands, stay safe, right? We're all hoping this will blow over. We're going to see different views all across the board, but at the end of the day, just important to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Make sure that you have your game plan in place. Make sure that you're leaning in, asking the right questions, opening up that dialogue with your community, and just making sure that you have some type of a hedge for whatever that looks like. That's why we're here. Big thanks for tuning in, y'all. I really hope you gained some valuable insight from this interview. I encourage you in these times of panic to lean in and to surround yourself with those smarter than yourself. As the great Warren Buffett said, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. So now's the time to get on that drawing board and to map out a plan to your success. Look forward to connecting with y'all in the future. Much love.